This was a debate on Twitter recently.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider Tupac an LA rapper?
Yes, I do. I do. I ain't gonna really say LA. I'm gonna say West Coast because really he started in the Bay.
Well,
I'm gonna say West Coast.
No, but the question is LA rapper.
He became an LA rapper, but he got his start in the Bay. We already know that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you can go back to Baltimore, you can go back to New York.
But he wasn't rapping there.
Yeah, he was called MC New York, but nobody knew who he was.
But then nobody knew who he was, so I can't base it on that.
Professionally, he started in the Bay.
Professionally, he started in the Bay.
Right.
So
eventually led him to LA.
Because he really got courted on Ma Pyru, which a lot of people know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that, now you from LA now. So yeah, I understand the argument. You know what I mean? Because once you dedicate yourself to something, that's where you from. I don't care where you came from. But if you came and got put on, like if somebody came from New York and came to Compton and got put on my hood, you from the set now. You know what I'm saying? You got to always know where you came from. Like, so yeah, I agree with that.
Well, DJ Yella was on my show recently, and I was not prepared for the comments that showed up under his videos.
Yeah.
Because, and you don't really notice it. Like when I do interviews, I kind of blank out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So when I rewatch things, I see it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that almost anything I asked, he just didn't remember it. He didn't do it. He didn't recall. And I guess the funny part was, we were talking about this before the interview.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him what he thought about the Chronic. Dr. Dre's The Chronic. Certain people consider that the greatest hip hop album of all time.
Okay.
And he said, honestly, Vlad, I never listened to it.
Come on, Yella, bro.
Now you got a different story.
Yella, come on, bro. Like, why would you say that? Like, maybe he don't remember. Maybe he's probably experiencing amnesia or something. I don't know. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say nothing bad, but come on, Yella. Come on, bro.
Well, didn't you actually purchase that album with DJ Yella and listen to it together?
I didn't purchase it with him, but I know we was on tour, and when that shit came out, was it the Chronic? It might have been Doggy Style, so he might have a point. I think it was Doggy Style, actually, because we was in DC. I remember. So in DC, they had these hotels with these bookstores in them, and some of the bookstores sold CDs. So I remember us, like, right when we was going out to go to the airport, we was in a 16-passenger van, and we was like, hold up, Snoop album came out today. Ran back in there, stood in that line, bought that shit, and Easy used to have this little radio. It's a picture online with Easy in the hotel room with the Charlie Brown black and gray, and he got the little radio next to him. That radio, he kept it with him all the time. And we played, it was Snoop Dogg. It wasn't the Chronic though, it was Snoop Dogg. So we listened to that shit through and through and through. So I'm assuming I probably wasn't around during the Chronic period, because that came out in what? Was that 91?
Yeah, 91, 92.
91, so I came to Easy in 92, the next year after that. I would say Yella's probably prevaricating that one. Because it's like, it's a diss, you got to think, they dissed Easy on it. Easy got to reply. You got to know what the fuck they're saying. Right. So it just don't make logical sense that he didn't listen to it, like, to me.
I mean, the comments.
So maybe he just don't want to get crossed with Dre, you know what I'm saying, or something. I don't know, because Yella played that role. Like, Yella is trying to play the middle.
Yeah, not trying to piss off anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look, the comments, I read through them. Someone said, if I ever did a crime, Yella would be the only one allowed to come with me.
On my mama.
After the police questioned him, he said, I don't know any.
I agree with that 100%.
Where were you yesterday? I don't really remember where I was yesterday.
Yella, if I need to do something, we'll call you, homie. Because I need people like that. That's crazy, bro.
That's the top
I just don't
comments.
understand why he sat in the seat if he wasn't going to answer nothing. Like, what type of interview is that?
I'm reading the comments. A deaf man has heard more music than DJ Yella. Vlad, what's your favorite N.W.A. track? Yella, never heard of him. I've never actually met Dr. Dre.
Damn.
You know what? I've never actually heard a phone ring. So, what was it like growing up in Compton? I honestly have never been there before. I was off doing my own thing.
Whoa. Yeah, he put himself out there. I mean, you got to take what comes with it, bro. That's funny as hell.
I've never drank a glass of water in my life.
That's funny, bro.
I've never seen the sunset. Yella makes me feel like he was just around for the food. Yo, the internet just has the funniest people in the world.
Hey, them type of things right there be killing me, bro. Because when you set yourself up for them comments, they gonna wear your ass out. Swear to God.
If you ever do a crime, bring DJ Yella with you.
Yeah. Damn, yeah, that's sorry.
And he sounds believable when he says, like, oh, okay, maybe he's never been to Compton. I
don't know what happened to Yella, man. No power to you, Yella. Much love, bro.
That's what it is. BG Knocc Out, man. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me,
here, man. Congratulations.
I know we got a little heated, bro, on that subject.
That's okay.
That shit touchy to me, though, Vlad, man.
Because, okay.
That shit, it disturbs my heart, bro. I'm not going to lie. To see the people in Gaza going through what they're going through, bro. I wouldn't want that to happen to nobody, to no Jewish people, no anybody, bro. I swear to God.
Either,
even the people that enslaved us, as much as that shit peeves my soul, I wouldn't even want to do it to them and their kids, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because my heart just ain't made like that. You feel me? So, you know, that's all I want to say.
I agree, man. Look, my whole life, Israel and Palestine has been going through it.
Yeah.
It's been going at it. It's been shooting each other, killing each other my whole life. And I don't know if I ever, you and I have never really kind of jumped on this topic before, but I remember when I went to Israel for the first time, they were taking us around and kind of showing us important parts of the history. And they took us to this one square, right? And the significance of this area was that at the time, the president of Israel was a guy named Rabin, right? Rabin was a general in the Israeli army. So he was, front lines, active battle, everything else like that. He had been going at it with Arafat for decades at that point. Both sides were getting killed, so forth. Him and Arafat got to a point, because they're starting to get older at that point, that they realized that if they, if their grandkids had a chance of actually having a peaceful life, they need to actually start negotiating with each other as opposed to just shooting each other. So there was a famous meeting in America with President Clinton where the two of them shook hands on camera. This was unheard of.
Was that Camp David?
No, I think it was actually the White House.
Okay.
There might have been meetings at Camp David, but I think officially there was literally like a video on the news of the two of them shaking hands. So imagine the leader of Hamas and Netanyahu shaking hands on television.
Yeah, something needs to happen, bro.
But I'm saying, like, imagine that. That's the significance of it, right? So this was a watershed event in world history, right, at that moment. And there was now steps being taken to actually figure out and, give land back to the Palestinians and, make accords and everything else like that. But when you have situations like that, remember the whole terrorist conversation I had? There's going to be extreme groups that are not happy with it. So there was actually a group of Jewish extremists that were extremely mad that this was happening. So there was this young kid, he was maybe his early 20s. He was going around meeting with these sort of real right-wing rabbis, some of which were affiliated with Netanyahu. Like Netanyahu was kind of part of this whole sort of overall group. And he would ask these rabbis, he's like, look, in the Torah, it says that if someone kills Jews, you should be allowed to kill them. So therefore, Rabin, with his policies killing Jews, shouldn't Rabin be killed? So the rabbis were like, well, yeah, in theory, I guess, you have a point. He should be killed by Jewish law. We're not going to do it, obviously, but yeah. So this guy got inspired to kill Rabin, an actual Jewish guy. So in this square, there was a big rally, and Rabin was walking through the crowd. And he got killed by an Israeli Jew.
Damn.
And then at that point, he got replaced by Netanyahu, or a Netanyahu type character, and it never went back to that point again.
Yeah,
he was actually trying. So then the person who got replaced didn't want to negotiate. So then everyone was pissed off and whatever else. So then the next person didn't want to negotiate with Arafat, and ultimately we are where we are today. But there was an actual moment, and this is what I mean by terrorists are designed to stop the peace process.
Yeah. I get it.
Things start to happen, progress gets made, and then a school bus gets blown up. And then people say, you can't negotiate with these people, they're animals. They blow up school buses.
Yeah.
you have to ignore, if let's just say that was ignored and they went right back to the peace process, something could have happened significant at that moment in time.
I just don't think Hamas is that powerful. Because you got to think they're in a broken country.
Yeah.
First of all, their infrastructure ain't shit over there.
Right.
So they can be stopped like this. That's what I'm just saying. Like if they wanted to really smash them, I believe they can do it in a day or a matter of days. You know what I mean? So I think it's a reason to keep them going and to keep the other extreme side going as well. You know what I mean? So
I mean,
at the end of the day, I just want peace, man, for everybody.
You might be
know
right,
what I'm saying?
but
it got to be something, Vlad, because it just don't make sense. This has been going on since 1947, bro.
It doesn't make
insane.
sense.
It's insane.
And here's the thing, that you're talking to someone who's actually been there.
Yeah.
And it's always lightweight tense over there. So, for example, like, you know how, I don't know, have you ever walked into a mall with metal detectors?
Of course.
Okay. Well, in Israel, I remember in Tel Aviv, they have people that they're not checking for guns and knives. They're looking in your bag for bombs.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
I understand.
So you're walking into a mall and you're checked for a bomb.
I understand, but if
Everywhere
you've been bombed,
with us.
if you've been bombed since your great grandparents was alive, you probably not all the way here mentally. You gotta think about that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of insanity over there. I heard the fucking dogs are schizophrenic, like the animals from all the bombs. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I've seen it and read it. I've seen videos and I've read it as well. So it's not a normal life for anybody over there. I just wish y'all, please, like, do away with the whole situation. Like, it's just not cool to witness, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I hope it gets worked out.
Inshallah.
Yeah, I hope it gets worked out, man. I have a lot of, Muslim friends.
Yeah.
But
when you say that, it sounds kind of like, I got a lot of black friends. Like,
Okay.
the way
but you don't hear a lot of Jews. You don't hear a lot of Jews saying it. You see what I'm saying?
I understand, but no, a lot of Jews do though. Because you have Jews who are against the extremist side of Israel as well.
Against the extremist
That's marching
side.
They're marching with the Palestinian people in America as well. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do that, but I've publicly said, like on the Breakfast Club and on social media with millions of people retweeting it, that I feel both sides are wrong, and I'm not in support. I'm not sitting here saying that one side deserves to be right.
The fucked up part is the people in the middle who's having to deal with it, who have nothing to do with Hamas or Israel. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the fucked up part.
Yeah. I think it's extremely sad, the number of civilian casualties that have happened.
Yeah, bro.
I think on both sides. On both sides. But unfortunately, it's a lot heavier on the Palestinian side.
Right.
And I think that's, for example, like if someone we're in Van Nuys right now, if someone in Van Nuys shot someone in Calabasas, you don't go and blow up all of Van Nuys.
Exactly.
So you don't blow up a building in Van Nuys because you're trying to get one person. So ultimately, the way they're handling it is bad, and it's also creating a lot of, a lot of people being upset at Israel for the way they are handling it. So it's
you gotta think about the generational damage that comes from that as well.
Generational damage, and it's also like
almost
at the end of the day,
irreparable, bro. At this point,
no matter how you look at it, you can't have the same leader for like 20 years and expect a good outcome. Every country you see this in, whether it's Cuba, whether it's China, whether it's Russia, whether it's North Korea, listen, you could criticize America, but at least you got 8 years, and then that's it. You're not going to get a third, fourth, fifth term. Like, that's it. Like Trump, in a few years, Trump will be gone.
The same people.
Trump will be gone. But Trump will be gone. Someone else will replace him.
Yeah,
you're not going to get Trump for the next 20, 30 years. See what I'm saying? And when you have Netanyahu in there for 20 years, you got Putin in there for 25 years, you're going to get a bunch of policies that really don't make sense because it's not really a true democratic system.
Yeah.
It's one person running the show and just basically deciding what the whole country's going to do.
Pretty much a dictatorship after that.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, man, I feel for the Muslim people. I feel for the Palestinian people. And, it may sound racist saying I have Palestinian, I have Muslim friends, but it's true. I actually do have,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Actual people that I keep in contact with, that have been on my show a bunch of times, that I have personal conversations with, that I hang out with outside of just business. See what I'm saying? That you know, I have true empathy for.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, at the end of the day, I don't like to see people get grouped in just because of a religion. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we're all individuals. We all deserve a chance.
We human, bro. It's humanity.
We're
it's
all,
humanity.
you know, to have our human needs, you
Mhm.
know, a roof over our head, food in our stomach, the ability to raise our families, not have peace, you know, to have peace, to not have bombs and missiles being, you know, flown overhead and so forth, man. I hope sometime
crazy,
during my
bro.
lifetime there could be a point where it's all just worked out.
Inshallah, I hope so, bro, because that's crazy.
That's what it is, man. Until next time.
For sure.
Peace.
Thank you, Pat.